Hello. Hi. Good morning, guys. So I'm Vignesh, and I'm the founder of Lendroid. Sorry for the technical glitch there. And Arprit had a good talk about the technical aspects of what you could do at this hackathon, being a Ethereum one. Most of the other projects, like even Lendroid, and we would have a very similar technical structure. So that's something I'm going to leave to V, who's going to speak at 2 o'clock, right? So that talk is going to be more of a technical talk about Lendroid and what are the tools we are going to provide, etc. In this talk, I just wanted to give a couple of stories from my life around hackathons and how these hackathons have changed my journey and taken me onto this stage. So hackathons are awesome. Hackathons are fun. You feel like you are on a holiday. You get to meet with friends. This is all great energy and great vibes. My hackathon, one of the important hackathons in my life happened in Ottawa, which is in Canada, and that was in 2013, December of 2013. That's where I built a Bitcoin ATM. And I was a student there. I went from India to Canada as a student, and then I just went into one of these hackathons. Ethereum was still not invented back then, so it was a Bitcoin hackathon. So we made a machine, hardware. I worked with people around. Some guy was good at hardware. One of the guys was good at talking. So we thought, okay, let's all come together, and we just started. I was just 4 months into my stay in Canada, and that started. And that became a company that put the first Bitcoin ATMs in Toronto, in Montreal, in Winnipeg, and 18 countries within the first year, right? And we also went into Y Combinator. From the hackathon, within 4 months, we applied for Y Combinator, which is a startup incubator based in Mountain View, and it was an awesome experience. So the hackathon took me to that place, and my life has not been the same since. But before all this started, I am from here. I am from Hosur, actually. So I grew up in Hosur. I studied till my 10th grade in Hosur, and every time I used to wonder, like, what's happening in the tech world. I was mostly self-taught. Most of the things I know about coding today is just like fiddling around with stuff that's available online. And these hackathons were the best places where I could reach out to various people in the community, but also get the latest information, which was very important. And so this phone was one of my gifts, one of the rewards that I received for a Facebook hackathon back in 2012. So that was the start of the journey. It was just a Facebook hackathon, a place similar like this. I came in, similarly made a team together, and this phone, when it was given to me, I did not really have a phone. What I had was a Nokia, like a 1100 phone. I came in a bus to Bangalore from Chennai, because I was living in Chennai at that point, and like I didn't have much money on my pockets. And this reward really made me search for what is next, what is there, what is out there, and what can I work on so that it could be something of impact and something that could change the world in the future. And that is how I found Bitcoin. So from the hackathons, I went and I thought, what is new, what is happening in the world? And I found Bitcoins. When I first found Bitcoin, I thought, okay, let me do something around it. I could not obviously afford even one Bitcoin. I remember it was around like $100 back then, but I could not really buy one. So I thought, okay, let me create something, and probably it becomes something, and I would that is my way of earning my share of Bitcoins. that happened, and that is when I thought, okay, I should not just be in India, I should go around the world. So I went to Canada, and the other hackathon happened, right? So these hackathons are where, like, there is so much promise, so much potential, and you guys should not just not talk within your group, or if you have come in as friends, maybe 3-4 guys. Don't just stop the communication within you guys. Talk to everyone. Don't feel like or don't have a prejudgment about people, because you don't know what's going to happen, and that you should allow that magic to happen, and that is the nature of a hackathon. And I'm sure that beautiful things are going to come out of it. So I have become a maximalist, more of a hackathon maximalist at this point. So because I've come from this kind of a place, I really thought this is something we should support, and that's part of our process. As a company, even after we found Lendroid, one of the things that's been quite important to me is to sponsor these kind of hackathons where people like me could look at the world, and like we could arrange something like that. And I'm very happy for Heath Global and DevFolio for having put up this hackathon today. So remember, there is treasure everywhere around you. So you should just remember to look. We forget sometimes that the person sitting next to you can be really awesome, and we might feel shy, or we might not want to talk immediately, or we might think, oh, what use will I get? But be open-minded. Just talk to them. Just say hi, and see where it takes you. So that is the story of Lendroid. So I started at the hackathon. The hackathons encouraged me, and today we are sponsoring a hackathon. That's a whole circle for me, right? And Lendroid, when I wanted to work on something that was this project was going to be a very long-term project for me. So when I wanted to work on something what we chose was to see what are the important issues that is in the world today. One of them that Bitcoin itself is solving is taking the power away from the centralized authoritarian regimes, right? So if you look at Bitcoin, it has done that. Like we are in the process of separating money and the state, which is an awesome place to start. But we have not yet separated, like, the credit system, the system where we can start lending out to people away from the bigger banks and from the financial institutions. Now, that data being collected is the only way for us to avail credit. For example, here, I'm sure that a lot of you guys, how many of you guys have taken out a loan, for example? An education loan, anything, right? Like, these are I'm sure that most of it is from a bank. Or a financial institution. But most of the people who are even in India today are going into the unorganized sector, right? Like, where there are loan sharks, and that's because that's all the cash economy. And credit, there is no credit in the cash economy because there is no data. And if you make it, if you bring it under the same system, they in a way are disadvantaged because they have a late start, etc. Right? So that is where we wanted to work on this area, credit. So credit for me is very important. It changes people's lives, because if you take a flower vendor that you would all have met, or a auto driver in the streets today, they all are in debt, but they cannot go to a bank, they cannot get a loan. They usually pay around 200% as interest every year, right? So the people who are at the fringes, they pay the maximum interest rate. So that is something we have to change, and blockchain is something that can enable that, right? So that is where Lendroid started. Lendroid wanted to get to that point where we can have a system where, without owning the data, without keeping all the data for ourselves, how do we bring people in the fringes, across the community, across the economy, and make them available, make credit available to them, right? And that's where we stand today. We have created this protocol. We have tried to remain decentralized. This is something that Joe, he's the founder of Augur, right? So he tweeted like 4 or 5 days ago, which is very important if you think about it. The whole world today, we criticize the current system. That's because it's all centralized and they are too big to fail. And when the banks make bad decisions, like even in India, all the money, we are all encouraged to save and give it to the banks. And the banks are at the center point where, because in India, the percentage of interest we get for saving is 8 to 9%, like 7 to 8%, right? Like in a savings account, in a FD. That means that we are encouraged to put our money into the banks. And once it's with the banks, they decide who gets the money. And that is where all the issues, whatever news we are hearing about, whatever news that has happened in the past with the NPAs and everything in India, that's because who decided on giving out these loans? And that's a central entity, right? And that's an important issue. And even with DeFi, which is decentralized finance, we are here to stop that. We are here to not let that central entity who don't have information, or even if they have information, one head cannot process all the pathways of what could happen when a loan is given out. So it is important to keep this decentralized. And if DeFi, which is the decentralized finance or the counterpart of the traditional finance system built on top of the blockchain, also has centralizing components, this issue could happen again, where in a couple of years, in 3 years from now, like we have exchange hacks all the time, which we rub off saying that, oh, like obviously not your keys, not your money, right? Like that kind of attitude exists today. The same thing could happen to DeFi, where if there are centralizing components and those components start failing, that's going to be an issue again, and we will just rub off saying, oh, it's not decentralized. So it is our responsibility to make sure that we build things, even if it's taking a lot of time. It takes time to build, to test, to get regulatory approval, and moreover, it takes a lot of time to bootstrap a decentralized network, right? So all these things combined, it's going to take time. But that's the right way of doing it. And that's something we believe in Lendroid. So with this, I would like to say that again, like at 2:30 probably there'll be a technical talk on some of the tools we have built around the lending protocol, so that you could build interesting applications out of it. It could be just like screenshot, like idea screens. How do we use decentralized finance? How do we use and take this decentralized loans to people? And that would be the question, the overarching question here. So we are here to help, and we are here to help not just in this place, but even after. If you guys have something you want to do, something you want to build, we are always here. You can contact, even if you're not building on Lendroid, right? You can contact us. You can talk to us about like understanding what regulations, what is happening in the world around on blockchains, and we will be happy to talk to you guys. And remember, this hackathon is a portal. We know how our life would be outside. Like it's a rat race. We work. We try to have fun in the weekends, and that's it. But these hackathons are magical. They are portals. And unlike the picture here where there is one person jumping into the portal, it's easier to get into this portal, into a world of awesomeness, if you do it as 2-3 people. So always make a team. Don't try to do things alone. It is just fun building things together, right? So with that, I would like to say thanks, and you could get the information. We've put up some information on the website here, and so I'll see you guys around. Thank you.